Welcome to day one of the Launch Your First Group Trip Challenge, where you'll be learning from guest expert Brittany Verlenich, who is a group trip host, travel agent, and content creator. Today, we'll be diving into how to get clear on your purpose for hosting, tips for standing out to increase bookings, and how the industry truly works so you can pick the best pathway for your business. Now, before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss a single video in this series or my other trainings for creators. Also, scan the QR code that is on your screen right now or click the link in the video description to grab your implementation workbook. This workbook is your exact business plan blueprint for this challenge, and it's really going to help you take what you learn and actually put it into practice. Plus, you'll use this workbook to enter our challenge giveaway. We've got some great prizes. You will not want to miss it. So scan the QR code and you will get full details on that. On that note, let's dive into today's training with Brittany.
So you're thinking about hosting a group trip, and there are so many reasons why this might be the case. Maybe you've seen a friend or a fellow creator or travel blogger of yours hosting them with great success, and it seems like so much fun. Maybe you're seeing people from afar do amazing things with them, people on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc., and you're wondering, okay, is this a real thing? Could I possibly get to travel for free and maybe even get paid to travel with my audience, to travel with other people? Maybe you've even had people asking you, like, how can I travel with you? Do you host any tours? Can I meet up with you in such and such place? Whatever the reason, you are in the right place, because in this video and in the next 4 videos, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to get started with group trips. Even if you are brand new to the travel world, or you've been in the travel world for a while and you're realizing things are changing, and even if you don't want to be a travel agent, although that's my area of expertise, and even if you don't want to be a tour operator, you can still host group trips. In fact, there are many different ways to host group trips, and in video 2 of this 5-video series, I'm going to walk you through the exact pathways and options you have logistically for making everything happen. Because there's more than one way to do it. And I want to make sure that you pick the way that's best for you. And or you might even decide that you want to have different trips organized in different ways just because of the nature of the destination. Hi, by the way, my name is Brittany. I've been a travel agent myself since 2020. Since then, I've helped over 180 people become travel agents themselves. And I reach over 40,000 people every single month on my YouTube channel, Travel Agent Haven, where I talk about ways to work in the travel industry. So I was really excited to partner with Jessie on this video series. And this actually started because I was one of the first people I know of to start hosting group trips. And back then, there weren't videos on YouTube. There weren't really any people talking about this on podcasts. There weren't all these companies and services to help people host group trips effectively. I was essentially figuring everything out from scratch. And while I'm really thankful and glad that that happened, because now I can help people like you figure out the way and save you from a lot of stress and pain and possibly even wasted money or time. I just want to say, like, what an amazing time to be in the travel industry and in the content creator world, the fact that we have so many different models to look to. And in this 5-day series, I'll also be pointing to other creators and what they're doing, the different model they're taking on, what they're doing that's working, what we can learn from, as well as myself, so that you can pick a model that works best for you and also rule out what you don't want to do. So in this first video, I really want you to get clear on your why and your purpose, and also for you to go in armed with knowledge that you understand how the group trip industry works, and that way you can pick the pathway that's best for you. So if for some reason you ended up on one of the other videos first and you came back and you're watching this one after those, these videos do really work best in order, but if not, that's okay. So first, let's bust some myths about group trips. And one of the biggest ones I see, and this might come from you seeing what other people are doing and then also what they're marketing and sharing, because of course, social media and online, we always ever only share the highlight reel, right? We share what's working, what's going well, at least what we're perceiving as going well. We don't always share all of the stuff it takes to really make those kinds of successes happen. And with that, sometimes we can see a post out of context, not knowing what that person has done or learned or gone through, and then we can have some myths develop. Myth number 1 is that group trips are a great way to travel for free. Let's clear that up right now. There is no such thing as a free trip. Group trips are definitely work. Now, depending on which pathway you pick, pick, again, shout out to day 2, we're going to cover that in the next video, the kind of work that you're going to be doing for your group trip is going to be very different. But it's definitely going to contain at least these things if you're going to be on the group trip yourself. There's the marketing and promotion of the trip, which is actually getting people to go. And that's one of the hardest things. It's also one of the most time-consuming stages of the trip, is one, making sure that people even know about the trip, which is a challenge in itself. But then 2, also getting people to be interested in going on the trip. 3, getting people to commit to going on the trip. But then 4, getting people to actually come on the trip, because many people will want to come on the trip. And we all know, because we're all travelers, that things happen. Even if someone is fully interested and committed when they put down their deposit, that doesn't mean that they're actually going to end up on the trip with you, which I'll be dropping all kinds of little nuggets over these videos. So that way you feel really prepared if you do decide that you want to move forward with this. So hot tip right there, always keep a wait list of people who are interested in coming on your trip, even if and when your trip is full. That way, when someone does back out, which is totally normal, don't make it personal about you. That's another tip. When someone drops out, you can just call someone on that wait list, whoever's at the top of the list, and then give them a quick window. Hey, I have a spot that's open. I'm going to give you priority registration for 48 hours. If you don't get back to me by then, I'm going to the next person, okay? Give authentic urgency, move on. Hot tip, always keep a wait list. So that's myth number 1, is that group trips are a way to travel for free, or a way to get essentially a free vacation. And I was just talking about marketing and promotion there. That is a ton of work, right? And not to scare you away from doing this. If you watch all these videos, because I want to make it as real as possible for you and actually inform you so that you can make a decision, I think even if you see all the work and you still want to do it, then you absolutely should. All right, myth number 2 is if you build it, they will come. We probably inherently know that this isn't the case, but the reason that I want to address it is because many people come into the travel blogging and content creation world because there's at least a small part of you, and I get it, there's a part of me who really wants this too. There's a part of you that's longing for passive income. The idea of working really hard now, putting in a lot of energy, many hours, maybe even some time and money, buying courses, learning from coaches, all the things, with the idea that eventually this will pay off because I'm going to make money passively and then I won't need to work every single day for it. That is at least one of the reasons many people are drawn to the online business space, to the blogging community specifically. We think of these assets we're building like a newsletter or a travel blog, and we think, okay, all we need to do is set up our SEO, make sure we know which keywords we're targeting, and then we'll set up a funnel to that group trip registration page and people will just sign up, right? Group trips are a very different type of offer than many other things that bloggers and content creators offer for several reasons. Number 1 reason for this is it requires a lot of your time, not only in the pre-planning stage of like figuring out what you're going to do, all this work you're doing right now, right? But also figuring out where are you going to go, when are you going to go, which path are you going to take to set up the trip? Are there any certifications or classes you need to take before then? Are there any relationships that you should be building right now? There's all this stuff that needs to happen before you even actually officially launch a trip. And then even assuming you do that, it's not something you launch, I would argue, like a course or a membership, although I would argue even those things are changing. When I go to all these media conferences and I hear all these people talking about what's changed, I hear top CEOs talking about doing DM sales and messaging, which floors me because that's something I've been doing intuitively since 2018, and not necessarily because I thought it was the best way to do it, but just because it was the easiest and cheapest way to do it. It does require a lot of your time, but reaching out to people one-on-one is the best way, but it's often antithetical to why we want to be travel bloggers and content creators in the first place. As a travel blogger or a YouTuber or someone who's maybe creating content on social media, you're typically talking to people at the top of the funnel. And what I mean by that, really quick marketing lesson, top of the funnel just means usually people who are in the beginning of their journey of whatever it is. It could be traveling to a different place. It could be a type of travel like scuba diving. And then the bottom of the funnel, which is more transactional, the very bottom, like where do I buy scuba diving fins and a tank? So a lot of times travel bloggers and content creators, we're used to doing things towards the top of the funnel, but selling a group trip, and also we're just talking about selling a group trip, there's also hosting it, right? How do you make sure that your travelers are happy, that everybody's getting along? There's all kinds of other considerations there. But even just the marketing and building it part, we're used to talking at the top. The way that you talk to customers, or I should say potential customers and clients at the bottom of a funnel, is so different than how you talk to them at the top. In 2021 and 2022, with everything everything that happened before that, people were very wary about traveling. And our company was relatively new, right? It was only a few years old. With the first trip happening, which I'm not even sure if I've ever shared this publicly, but actually before I officially launched my group trips in 2022, I actually did have a scouting mission in 2021 where I sent one of my dear friends, who's also a travel agent and collaborated with me, on one of the trips. And I was like, hey, can you just tell me if this is legit? Thank God that she went and did that for me because I wasn't able to go, but she went, took all these pictures and said, yes, this is an amazing deal. You should definitely send more people. And so we did. And then I even hired her to host one of my trip weeks. And then she even had her daughter host a week. It was so fun. And I love that I'm able to provide other opportunities like this. And that's something that you can do if you want, or you might decide, actually, I don't really want to build a whole scalable business out of this. I just want a lifestyle business, which we'll get to what you want in a second. But I say all this to show you that there's a lot more that goes into hosting a group trip than selling a course or maybe something that's more hands-off and passive and lower ticket. Myth number 3 related to that is just because a group trip is a higher ticket item, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's more profitable than something else that you might want to offer. Many people see the price tags for group trips being in the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. I've even seen 5-figure trips, especially if it's more of a retreat or if it's something more specialized or in certain destinations that require more logistics and on-the-ground support. You might see that price tag and think, ooh, I am going to get a great payday. But just because something is more pricier on the consumer end, that doesn't necessarily mean it's more profitable for you, right? Your profit margin is how much you have after all of your expenses have been paid and taken care of. And the profit isn't even necessarily what your take-home pay is. So I actually created a calculator tool for this to help you figure out, okay, however you end up planning your first group trip in whatever pathway you choose, what will I actually need to do to make sure I earn a certain amount that I want or need? Because you will incur expenses hosting a group trip. It's just non-negotiable. Even if you somehow landed the sweetest deal where you were able to partner with some companies and tourism boards, you're technically using your time to do that, right? And pitching and all those things. So no matter what, whether you're paying for flights or food or drinks while you're out with people, or maybe something for the business, like maybe it's really hot and so you go get some ice creams for everybody so that their mood stays high. There are all kinds of expenses and incidentals that might come up during a trip. So you want to make sure that those costs are covered on top of the cost for the entire group trip. So definitely work through that calculator, because even though a trip might seem kind of expensive, that doesn't necessarily mean it's more profitable. I've had trips that were actually cheaper on the customer end be more profitable because I didn't have as many expenses. You really want to think about all of these things and not just randomly put out a price. Myth number 3 is that you can just put all the trip components together yourself. You know how to travel, right? So I'll just do what I do for myself, but for everybody else. Well, let me stop you right there. Just because people say they want something does not mean that that's what they actually want. Oftentimes, buyer behavior does not match what they say their intention or their desire is. Let me give you an example. I've had people tell me, wow, how do you get to travel for so cheap? I just recently booked a series of flights where I didn't spend more than $15 because I had so many miles and points from traveling over multiple years, booking $6 flight here, $12 flight here, but you only get so much context from a post. If they were to look behind the scenes and see, oh, it's because I'm taking a red eye the day before to my origin airport for my transatlantic flight, so I'm going to be pretty uncomfortable trying to sleep on a plane before getting to a place where I'm going to be on another plane for 9 hours. And then people think, ooh, okay, I like the idea of saving the money on the flight, but I don't like the idea of being uncomfortable. Same thing for hostels. People often ask me, how am I able to travel so affordably? And then I tell them, well, I still stay in hostels sometimes. And many are even surprised because as of when I'm recording this, I'm a few years from 40 and people go, oh, really? You can still stay in hostels then? And I say, sure, it's fine, depending on the hostel. I digress. But what I'm saying is some people will see, especially if you have a really unique life, like if you live in a van, if you are really outdoorsy and adventurous, or maybe you just have this really incredible aspirational lifestyle, and people think, and maybe even tell you, I want to experience that. They think they want to experience that, but they don't always actually want to. Their buying behaviors show a different story. And this leads to myth number 4. The people who come on my group trip are people just like me, or the people already in my audience. But that might not be true. Here's a really good example of somebody saying and doing something different. Many travelers will say they want to have more adventure, but then when they actually touch down in a city, they go, oh, I actually really wanted to be close to city center. I don't really want to drive in rideshare apps to city center. Or, ooh, okay, I know I wanted to support local accommodations, but I really want to have air conditioning because it's hot outside. And I'll also say, because you're working with people, check what your response to that is internally, because when you're hosting group trips, yes, it's fun, it's a good time, but they're also looking to you. Even if you're not the provider, even if you're not the one supplying the experience directly, maybe you partner with a tour company, maybe you're a travel agent and you connect them to a supplier, they're still going to associate whatever that trip is with you and your brand. So one, you want to make sure that you pick a good brand, but two, you also have to bear in mind what people actually want versus what they say they want. So over the years, I've learned to tailor my group trips a little bit because yes, there are certain experiences that I think are just iconic for where they're going, for what we're doing as a group, but also the sailboat is a great example because I've done so many sailing trips. Sailing isn't exactly comfortable all the time, right? You're living in cramped quarters, it's hot, you have a lot of sun exposure all day, you might be more active there than you are at home, depending on who you are, and that could be uncomfortable for some people. So just keep in mind, what do people actually want? Don't just listen to what they say. And with that in mind, don't just expect for the results of a poll you have or a poll you see online to actually accurately indicate what people are going to do and the decisions they're going to make. Related to that, last myth is that the people who come on your group trip are going to be like you. And related to that, that the people who would be best for your group trip are already in your audience. You might have built up an audience that doesn't align as well with a profitable group trip. I'm just going to underline that because we're going to get to why in a second. Let me give you some examples. Maybe you built a brand and a travel blog around how to travel the world as a broke backpacker. If that's the case, it might be a little bit hard for you to build up a group trip unless you're either one, going to build your business model in such a way where you can go for volume and have maybe hundreds of people traveling with you at one time so that you can take over a hostel and get some group rates. There are some companies who do this, so there's a model that you can copy. Or for example, maybe you really like to talk about outdoor destinations, glamping, certain regions of the United States, but you want to host group trips abroad. Now, you might have some people already in your audience who want to go on those trips with you, but they might not be the people you think they are, right? They might not be the people who maybe you feel like are your peers or interacting with you on Instagram, because remember, why does someone book a group trip with you? There are so many reasons, right? But one of them might be because of the ease of the logistics and the planning. So maybe that person is not connecting with you on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube because they found you somewhere else or because tech is a struggle for them. So you really have to know not only your audience overall, who you're talking to, what your brand is. Those things are so important. That's foundational, and definitely go figure that out if you don't know it yet. But your group trip in itself is going to have its own brand, its own vibe, its own purpose, aside and apart from what you want for it. And then also the underlying infrastructure of that group trip. So whether you are starting a tour company, a membership, a travel club, a travel agency, whatever it is that you're starting is also going to have its own brand and vibe to support that trip, because eventually you might want to do more than one trip, right? Now, closing with all that, if you've heard all these myths and you've heard what I've shared so far and you're still excited and you're still on board, that's great. I'm super excited for you. Aside from figuring out how much do you actually want or need to make from this trip, I want to back up and say it's important for you to know why you want to host a group trip. As cheesy as it is, profitability is not the only reason. Yes, it's definitely a great way to monetize an audience that you've built, especially in the travel industry, because people already kind of understand what a tour company is, what a travel agent is. In fact, I would say that they're still struggling to figure out what a travel blogger is and does. Many of them really don't understand and maybe can't explain that. So when you say, hey, I'm hosting a group trip, this is an experience you can come on, they understand that. It's something more tangible for them. Another thing is, you might be surprised to learn that a group trip can be an incredible opportunity for you to create content. Not only are you getting content for yourself, of yourself, but practically now you have other people who might be able to hold your phone or your camera and take pictures of you in places. It might be a struggle if you travel on your own. You might get photos and videos of you with other people, and you'll be more natural and organic because you won't be thinking about it as much. Plus, this kind of content, depending on how much you plan in advance, can actually do really well at positioning you as an authority further in your niche or in your specialty, and then also building some social proof for you. It makes your brand feel and seem and really become more real. People will see what you're building and say, that's something I want to be a part of. It's not just one person who's creating beautiful or interesting content online. This is something that I am too. So one of the reasons that I built my first brand, Traveling Teachers, it was clear, right? It was teachers who loved to travel. I wanted for teachers to know this wasn't just Brittany traveling with you, although it definitely was that at first. It was a community so that they can meet their friends. And I love that now I am not even the best or the top group trip host. I've trained up other people who are way better than me. And I love that because that is always the vision I've had, that other teachers could find these kinds of opportunities so that they could host these group trips. They can travel for free or for low cost and create community where they are. So I had a vision. I knew what I wanted. And of course, that vision has evolved over time. You really want to know what it is you want out of this group trip. And I would also recommend that in addition to having the profitability, that you have at least one of these other side intentions. So there's creating content and authority. There's also the community itself. In 2020, we experienced a time when most people couldn't really travel for a while. Now it seems like that's all people want to do. People want to be outside. They don't want to be on their phones or on social media anymore. So they're looking for opportunities to connect with other people in a community in person. They want something real and unfiltered live, right? It's not super edited or curated or even AI, right? Because at least when you're meeting with people in person, you know it's something that's actually authentic. Plus, when you're talking to people, your people who maybe have been following you for years or who maybe just came across your content and they just immediately resonate with it, now that person can talk to you in person. You can hear their wants and dreams and goals and connect with them on an individual level, of course, but that's also a gold mine of marketing information. It's basically like having a focus group with you for a week or more. And then, of course, there's the purpose, the underlying mission or reason that you started your travel blog, content creation journey, or your specific brand or business in the first place. What is it that you want to bring into the world and bring to fruition? For me, at least at first, it's grown more and beyond that now. I knew I wanted to create a global community of teachers to help each other travel better and to travel together. That's always been one of those little cheesy things I've said is, does this help them travel better in my own content that I'm creating, or does it help them travel together? That's been my little filter. I really built it up that group trips were front and center of what it was. It wasn't a surprise when I was promoting them. So that really helped. All right. So what is next for you? So the next steps that you'll want to do, if you haven't already, definitely grab that cheat sheet. You're going to see a link to a calculator in there so you can figure out exactly what you want or need to make and how you're going to make that happen. That's also going to be super helpful for the next video, where then you will figure out what is your pathway. Are you going to become a travel agent? Or maybe you are, and you're going to set up your trip that way. Maybe you're going to be a tour operator. And by the way, I will say there are very few things where I will say there's only so many ways to do this, but for this, it's kind of true. Even if you never become a tour operator on paper, if you're not doing these other pathways, you essentially are a tour operator. So you really want to know what the pathways are so you can figure out which one you fall into and which one you really want to lead with. Go work through the calculator, figure that out. Also consider, what is your main why for the first trip that you want to do? Yes, profitability, but are you wanting to create content? Do you want to build authority in your niche? Do you want to create authentic connections and community with your people in person? Or maybe it's to reach an underlying purpose or mission that you have for your brand or business. In the next video, we'll also be talking about your unique value add, and we'll help you figure out what that is. And that's going to go really well with which pathway you decide to choose. So that's it for video 1, and you'll see me in the next video.